Hello, good morning or good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. This is Harmony and Mel, your podcast hosts. Today, we are bringing you an interesting topic, especially after the last few days we've had, and it's called work-life balance. Does it really exist? And we are going to be completely going off the cuff with this podcast episode. I think we both have a lot to say on this topic, and I can't wait to dive into it. But for those of you who may be joining us for the very first time, a warm welcome to the podcast. Or if you're in the Ayurveda and Women's Health Sisterhood Facebook group, a warm welcome back. I am Harmony, and I'm an Ayurveda and women's health practitioner and the founder of the Ayurveda Alchemist Academy and higHERself breathwork. I blend the timeless wisdom of Ayurveda with modern science and evidence-based approaches to help women unlock their full potential and achieve holistic success. Through my higHERself method, I empower clients to thrive in their careers, nurture their personal lives, and embrace mindful living in today's modern world. And my beautiful co-host and wonderful friend, Melissa Alves, you can introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Melissa Alves. I'm a trauma-informed self-mastery and embodiment coach. I specialize in guiding feminine leaders to unlock their personal power and heal. And I blend my wisdom from my life coaching, my Ayurveda Women Holistic Health Coach, my Vedic breath work, and also from my own personal experience of overcoming childhood abuse and having that self-mastery to heal. So I really understand the unique challenges of women in leadership, and my mission goes beyond just traditional coaching. It's all about elevating consciousness, breaking free from limitations, and embracing that abundance. So, I'm also the student success mentor at the Ayurveda Academy, Alchemist Academy. I'm so tongue twisted today.
Weekend, Mel, so am I.
It's been a morning
episode for everybody. And you're also a trauma-informed practitioner as well. Lots of little things you are that make you this amazing, amazing human with so much to offer, which is why I love working with you. We always like to start our episodes together. And I will mention also the episodes myself and Mel co-host together. This is a bonus series called The Evolution to Your Higher Self. So on my podcast, the Harmony Inspired Health podcast, I have my normal health-related podcast episodes, and then we have a co-hosting series, which is this one, Evolution to Your Higher Self. So we really talk on those sort of more deep philosophical topics and bring, I guess, both of our worlds together and our wisdom so we can sort of complement each other and give the best that we can of both of us. And also we want to allow people in on the conversations that we actually have behind closed doors. We're those people that talk about this kind of stuff. But we love to always celebrate our wins, small or big. So I have so many wins I'm so excited to share this week, and I'm sure you do, Mel, and they're probably the same or similar wins, but let's start with your wins.
Yeah, so my wins, like you said, Harmony, were probably on the same wins, but just in a different perspective. So my win this week was really, we had so much. We had the Ayurveda Alchemist Goddess Day Retreat, where we had people coming from international and all over Australia. And then we had the Vedic breathwork certification. So there has been so many wins, but I'm going to rattle them off really quickly, but we won't dive into it. The wind of just stepping up. We had a photo shoot on the morning of the Goddess Retreat with an amazing photographer, and just stepping into myself again and not feeling so uncomfortable, just that next layer of being comfortable in my body. Being able to support so many women and being able to support the amazing Harmony and just seeing her shine her light and living in her Dharma and being able to be a support in that. I was really proud of myself. And for training in front of people live again, because I've done so much on Zoom over the last few years, and it's been a number of years since I ran a in-person live workshop. And that was just a win because it just felt great. And I just reminded myself the power. So I know a lot of you ladies out there, you know, sometimes you forget the power that you have because it's been a while since you rode that bike. And when you jump back on and go, oh my God, I know I can do it. I remember how amazing this feels. So yeah, that was my wins. There's so many more, but they were my kind of 3 big wins for over the weekend.
And you did so amazing delivering your educational workshops to the group. You had everybody on the edge of their seat, everybody engaged. It was absolutely amazing. And I kind of threw you in the deep end. I'm like, oh, can you do this one too?
Yeah, you did.
Get straight up and do it. And yeah, it was just so much fun. Yeah, so my win really is, I guess, one of my biggest values in business and in life is building community and a really strong, beautiful sisterhood, like having those deep connections. And so having everybody together, like you said, from interstate, international, all come together for the Goddess Retreat, the Ayurveda Alchemist alumni and students, was just next level amazing. Like, we've been connected online for so many years, and, you know, we have that great connection online, but it's just so different in person, like just bringing all that beautiful energy together and giving each other big hugs and feeling like old friends, like we've known each other forever, but really it was like the first time we met in person. And then the higHERself Vedic breathwork certification program, like that was epic. It was huge. Like, we've had 3 huge days. Literally, we went to Byron yesterday with some of the students as well. So this is the first day that we've sort of come off the whole big high of everything that's happened. Yeah. But yeah, it was just so amazing to see the community get together and all of the amazing women going, like the confidence I saw that the women in the higHERself breathwork practitioner certification, like on day 1, how they were like a bit, you know, unsure of themselves, unsure about teaching in front of so many people, and then just seeing them blossom and bloom by the second day and running the most magnificent breathwork classes. I was just like, wow, like this is so amazing. And having students say, oh my God, like we've learned so much in 2 days, but it doesn't feel overwhelming, but I just can't believe how much we've learned and I can't believe how far we've come. And yeah, that just made me like so happy. And I would say it's actually a huge win because yeah, it's just exceptional. It's just a huge win. So I would have to say that would be my win for the week for sure.
Yeah, they were huge. There was a lot of big wins in that in over that weekend, and a lot of small wins. But yeah, exactly like you said, seeing the transformation from day 1 to day 2 on the higHERself breathwork certification program was just night to day. It was just so magical to witness the drop-in of power that these women had, and that confidence was absolutely magical. And now they're going to go out there and help so many people with the power of breath. And it all stemmed from you having that idea and then having that courage to create a program because you've seen that gap in that market. So a huge congratulations to you for taking that courage and creating something so magical because it's having that ripple effect. So huge congratulations to you, Harmony.
Thank you, beautiful. And the other exciting thing about that I didn't mention is we already have a wait list for the May program for Gold Coast, but it is going to go to New Zealand. We have dates for New Zealand and also the UK. So we are spreading our wings far and wide, which is also super exciting. But on to the topic of this podcast, which is work-life balance. And we had a bit of a giggle before we got on here because we're like, who are we this week to be talking about work-life balance? We've literally like worked so hard last week, like this weekend, long days, and then we're jumping straight back into it today, and we're probably a little bit, you know, tired. overwhelmed, but at the same time still feeding off that excitement. And I must say, it's not like that every week. So when we talk about like work-life balance, it's not, if we were working like that every single week, then that really isn't conducive, and it's really not preaching what we're all about. It's not Vedic at all, you know.
No.
And so I think that when we talk about work-life balance, you're never going to get it 100% right all of the time. The thing is, even with the doshas, like when we talk about our Ayurvedic individual constitution, which is our doshas, that means your imbalanced state. It never means that, okay, once we can balance out the doshas, they're going to stay like that forever. It's just talking about noticing when there's a slight imbalance and what can we do to bring us back to self. And we're humans, we live in human experiences. Our environment changes, our circumstances changes. Like you just said, oh, I had a roof leak this morning. I had to deal with that. And the children, before jumping on here, I'm like, I'm going to jump on late, Mel, because my computer decided to do an update. You know, there's always going to be things that are thrown in our way. And so balance is not a concept that we can strive for 100% of the time. It's just something to keep in mind. And I think when you are living out your dharma and you're really feeling connected to your purpose and what you're doing in everyday life, that is balance within itself. And also knowing that we're going to have the ups and downs that life's going to throw at us, because that's what we're here for. We're here for the challenges. We're here to grow through it. And that is part of the balance. Balance is, like you said, night and day. Yep. It's the hard times and the good times. Having just like this perfect, good, streamlined balance of everything isn't actually balance, because it's just good all the time, right? It's just like being able to learn through the balance of what life throws at you and how you can respond and what you can make of it. So I do think I have changed my mind on work-life balance over the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so, because I did used to be quite rigid in, you know, morning, training, going to work all day. When I was working as a nurse, that was like my work. Then going home, then I'd have like, you know, a structured evening to balance out that I've been at work all the time. And actually that full-on structure and trying to achieve was like, I was like pushing and pulling all the time, and that within my mind body wasn't achieving balance, because I was just struggling to perfect something that can't be perfected. And then you throw kids into the mix and business and all things, and you can never perfect that work-life balance. And so it's more about accepting. I feel for me, it's about accepting where you're at, noticing where you're at, cultivating more balance within your own mind body constitution, and then putting in boundaries in place. Because the people who really, that I see struggling with what we quote unquote call work-life balance, are the ones who have no boundaries put in place for themselves and others. So can you think of a better word than work-life balance, Mel?
First of all, I love how you said it's finding that balance within ourselves and setting those boundaries, because I think the setting those boundaries, it just hit home for me that it's setting the boundaries allows you to have that balance. But I don't know if there's a better word for work-life balance. For me, I see it as, you know, years ago, I used to think, okay, if I need work-life balance, I need to give 50% of my time into my work and 50% of my time into my home life. And then if Shane was working, you know, 6 days a week and we're only having 1 day of family time, for me, that was imbalance. And I used to always be resentful. I used to get upset, like we're not spending enough family time. And then a few years ago, it switched. And I really see it goes, you are never going to be able to have 50-50 in life and in home life. There is no balance in that state. But what I do see is now that whatever time that I am focused, say if I'm focusing on work, I give my 100% focus and energy on work, and I am not half-assed in there. I'm not 50% in there. I'm not 80% in there. I'm 100% in there, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's 2 hours, whether it's, you know, whatever time length, I'm in there. So when I'm at home life, work is like, I don't do work. I don't do anything. I am focused in on my home. I'm focused in on cooking. I'm focused in sitting down and watching telly with the kids. So now when we have that one day family time on Sunday, we are present. And when you're giving that 100% in whatever you're focused on at that time, and you bring that presence, that is quality time. And that is balance, because like you said, Harmony, then you're balanced in yourself. You're not like just here, but your head's over here. So your mind is disconnected. Your body's just here and you have that disconnect. You're in balance because you're in presence. So I really just want you guys, the listeners, to think about, where can you bring more presence and your 100% energy, time, focus, dedication to whatever you're doing in work, at home, spending time with your friends, whatever it may be. How can you bring that 100% more focus and presence in whatever you're doing?
100%. So it's really not about trying to achieve balance. It's just trying to achieve presence. I love, because if you don't need to say, oh, 20% of my time I'm spending with my friends, the other 20% I'm doing work, the other 20% I'm doing like self-care or whatever. It's like, whatever you're doing, just be completely present in that. And that brings about balance in your life, because you're present in that moment. And it releases that pressure of having to be the perfect, the perfect superwoman who can balance family and business and career and social life and all the things, because there is no perfect balance. And everybody's, if you want to use the word balance, everyone is going to be different in what feels good to them as well. Some people love diving in their work and just like being immersed in it, and for them it can almost be like a meditative state. Other people hate their job, hate their career, hate their work, and so if they're doing that many hours in that job, then they're going to feel really out of balance and resentful, like you were saying, if they're not spending equal amount of time or similar amount of time doing the things that they enjoy. But if you can bring more presence into what you're doing, whether you like it or not, then there's room for you to start bringing more gratitude into what you're doing, start bringing more acceptance. So even if you're not loving your job, you're like, well, I'm accepting this is where I am. I'm completely present. I'm doing my thing. If you're completely present, you're not thinking about how, the future of how I just want to get out of here, or a few things that happened the other day at work that you hate and you're still pissed off about, that kind of stuff. You're just being present on the work that you're doing, And I think the other thing that we have come up with, Mel, and it's just come to mind, we talk about, we've got this little secret.
Are you going to tell everyone our secret? All right, guys, let me give you the drum roll.
Everything we do, it has to be AAP.
AAP, baby. AAP all the way.
So now we look at each other and we're like, we make a suggestion about our business or what we're going to do, or family or the retreats, whatever, and we look at each other and it's like, yeah, AAP, totally. Or we're like, nah, we can just go, nah, that doesn't align. That's not AAP. So do you want to share what AAP is, Mel?
Oh, okay. It is aligned action plan. Aligned action plan. So anything that we feel we're like, okay, great, we need to bring that into business, or we need to carry out this task, or we need to do something in personal life, we look at each other, and if it doesn't feel aligned and on our purpose, on our dharma, it goes like, see you later. If it doesn't fall in line with AAP, then it's like, see ya.
Yeah, scrap it. Because sometimes we get so consumed doing all the things we think we have to do, and saying yes to a lot of things, or sometimes even saying no to a lot of things because we're fearful, but we haven't really asked ourselves, is it in alignment with our values? Is it in alignment with our bigger goal? Because when it is in alignment with our goal, our values, our dharma, then that is bringing that presence and that balance to your life, because it's aligned with how you want to show up, who you want to be, and what you want to do. Whereas if you're like, oh, everyone's doing this and everyone's going to this event, and it's like, oh, probably should because, you know, everyone else is doing it. But is it really aligned? Because if it isn't, then it is going to feel exhausting. It's going to suck your energy, your vitality, your ojas, if we're talking Sanskrit Ayurveda, out of you. And it's going to rock that quote unquote balance that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got a great example of when, and I'm only showing this example so you listeners can probably relate and have a look about a time in your life when you had so much stuff going on. So I think it was about 2.5 years ago. I was working part-time in our family business. I was doing all the mums that drop off school kids, soccer, dancing, all the things. I was starting the Ayurveda Alchemist Academy. I was studying in the Jay Shetty Life Coach certification, and I was building my women co-working empowerment center. And someone would look at me, like I had people in my life going, oh my God, how come you're not burnt out? How are you doing it all? Because I just seemed so happy, so peaceful. Mind you, I was still going to bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock. I was still waking up at 4:30, and I did not feel overwhelmed. And when you look at that and go, oh my God, how did you juggle doing all the things in a short period of time where you're not burnt out? You're exercising, you're still going for your walks, you're showing up in all the areas. It was because it was AAP. Everything that I said yes to at that time was aligned with my highest purpose, with my highest, biggest vision and dreams. So when I did bring the structure in terms on between this time and that time, it's just study. Between this time and this time, it's family, and allowed that to flow however it flowed. And I made sure that I woke up early in the morning, went for my walks, did my balancing thing, all the stuff that I needed to be able to show up the best that I can be. And when I did show up to study, and then when I did show up to plan and execute setting up my business, I was so in much joy and excitement because I gave 100% presence in study, 100% presence in organization of the business and execution, that I had it was such a lot going on in my life, but I had so much joy because I AAP'd it, and I had that balance, I had that presence in there. And it was the most enjoyable period of my life because I was in such flow, I was in such connection. I really, learning Ayurvedic, I knew, okay, something's going out of balance. What's my lifestyle? What am I eating? Where is my mind at? And bring myself into balance. And a whole lot of gratitude, I think, to stay in that balance or in that presence. Like you said, it's having acceptance for where you are, but not only acceptance, it's having gratitude for where you are and being so grateful for the opportunities that you get to get up and study. I got to choose to study. I got to be able to go take my children to their sporting. I got to show up and create an amazing space for women to come to. I get to wake up early and go for my walk. I get to do all these things. And when you're coming from a lens of gratitude and I get to, instead of, oh, I have to, how draining does it feel? Like, oh God, I have to study, because it's not aligned with your highest values or your highest purpose.
Exactly. And I also think on that, like when you are feeling a bit drained and tired, like there's going to be days where you're not, your higher self, and you are feeling a bit of the pressure, but you can still ask yourself, like, is it AAP? Is it aligned action plan? Because even for today, for example, like we both had like a huge weekend, a huge week following up. We both had mornings that were a little bit chaotic, and we still are here doing this, and we still are showing up, because when we just really ask ourselves, is this aligned action to what we want to grow, our values and our goals? We're like, well, yeah, it is. And so some other things can wait, but this is really in alignment with what we want to do and what the information we want to bring to the world. Whereas we could have been like, oh, Mel, like, my computer's stuffed at the moment. I've got like a list of so many things to do, emails to get through. I can't do this. I can't add another thing. And you'd be like, yeah, I've got like the roof leaking, everything that's going. Let's just call it off. Let's just leave it. But we know that we have this code AAP, and we're like, this is AAP. Like this. This is what we have to show up for. And then we can show up for the other things later.
Yep. And when you do show up, because sometimes, like you said, Harmony, you got all the things going on. So it's so easy to fall into like, oh no, it's too hard. Right. But when we do show up because it's AAP and it's so aligned, we're like, okay, let's lean into it. Let's just do it. And we're here, and you have a good time because it's so aligned. Like, I'm having the best time. I'm not thinking about, oh, I've got to vacuum my floors, which I've got to do when I jump off this, but I'm like, I'm just having such a great time. And my presence is 110% here. I'm not thinking about all the other stuff. Like, I'm here, and then that's balance. And I know later I'm going to go and vacuum my floors and clean my bathrooms, and I'll be 100% in there, probably listening to a podcast, but 100% in there, focusing on that. So I love AAP, baby.
Love AAP. Now everyone's in on our little secret. So when we do the code word, you know how, I mean, we even did it on the weekend. You're like, hey, how many AAP that? And I was like, now people are going to know what we're talking about.
I know, now we can't say it.
but we'll know. We'll have to come up with a secret look at each other instead of just AAP.
Yeah, instead of AAP.
So, I think it's been so helpful though. And I do want to circle back just to speak about the boundaries, because in my Ayurveda and women's health clinic, I see obviously a lot of women who are going through hormonal imbalances. And not only do we look at the physical aspects of that, we test their hormones and everything, but I take them through my higher-self methodology, which is health alchemy, the empowered mind paradigm, and dharmic impact. And so within those pillars, we look at dharmic impact. So how are they showing up for themselves? What is the impact that they're creating in their life and the lives of others? But how are they also not? And a lot of the time it comes down to not being able to set boundaries with their work, with what they're doing, with especially so not only women who work for themselves. Like, we often think it's women entrepreneurs who we see a lot of, and they can't log off at 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. because we know that we're so connected in today's society. As a business owner, you not only getting emails, if your emails aren't getting answered, people will find you on Instagram, message you there. If they don't reply there, then they find you on your personal Facebook page and the business Facebook page, then TikTok or wherever. And you just like, you can never escape from it. And so some women just will be replying all hours of the night, you know, doing all the things. But also, I'm also seeing that in women who have careers or who have jobs that is not their own business, but their bosses or their colleagues are messaging them out of work hours and wanting them to do more work and reminding them about tomorrow. And I'm like, wow, that's just so, it's so full on. Like, we've got to give ourselves that break, that mental break. And a lot of women don't have the boundaries put in to say, no, even as an entrepreneur, these are my work hours. And if I'm working in an office or under someone else's business, these are my business hours, and I'm not going to reply to that. In saying that, we're always messaging each other. But I'm talking about like the full, these women that are like, I'm feeling so much pressure from my boss, I'm not doing it good enough. And then they feel that they're not good enough, and they're working over the hours that they're actually, you know, scheduled to work for. And then they're feeling exhausted and burnt out, and it's not even doing something they love. And it's just really sad. And it comes down, they can't have the conversations, they can't put those boundaries in place. So they're never going to achieve what they may perceive as balance or presence in anything, because they're being flogged by this work culture that they also are playing a part in, because they haven't articulated their boundaries themselves. So do you have any sort of strategic steps around this, or any insights for women who are listening who are like, oh my God, that is so me? Like, my boss will message me at 10 o'clock at night and I'll reply, and then I'm up at 5 a.m. the the next morning, trying to get the emails before I get to work, because when I'm at work, they're on my case. Like, what would you say to that?
Yeah, and that, this is really important that you're bringing this up, Harmony, because in the corporate world, I have seen that a lot. Like this happens a lot, and it's so hard for those who have already been in those cultures where they've blurred out the lines. So they've set the standards that, hey, you can contact me at any time and I'm going to respond. And one thing is I've seen them a lot of now. They have the chats, the internal chat, like chatting, what's that word? Like a chat channel, like a WhatsApp or Google Chats and stuff like that. They've downloaded it on their personal phone. And they're sitting there at dinner or with their kids or out at a picnic or whatever, and their phone is buzzing.
Yeah.
And this is what notifications are made. It's made to grab our intentions to go into there. So they're constantly messaging at whatever time. So when they're at having family time, they're not 100% present, right? So it's looking at, okay, where can I pull myself back and put the boundaries in and retrain our managers, retrain our work colleagues, and retrain ourselves if you're in business for yourself to go, hey, this is my boundaries. Once I've clocked off and I walked out, then I'm not touching this until I'm clocked back in, until maybe I'm on the train, catching the train to work. Then that for me is, I would say, okay, that's great. That's my work time. So it's really redoing your boundaries and deleting some apps that don't need to be there on your personal device. Because remember, your job, your business is not your life. It is a huge chunk of your life. But when we focus too much on it and we allow it to creep into our personal space, into our personal life, that is where our relationships are going to start suffering. That is when our self-worth, our self-love, our health starts suffering. And then we're suffering, our children are suffering. So really just for me, I know that at 7 o'clock, because it's so tempting. It's so tempting to grab your phone and just check the message and do the things. But for me, I used to, not anymore, but I used to put meditation music on at night for the kids at 7:30. So I know my phone's away and I can't touch it. And it's so hard. It's like, you eat all the chocolate and you're not allowed to eat the chocolate, and the chocolate's just sitting there, and it's every time you open the fridge and it's saying hello, like your phone's always going to be there. But just start working on setting the boundaries of not touching your phone after a certain hour. You might still be touching your phone at 10 p.m. Let's try it at 9 p.m. And then once you've mastered that and breaking those habits, then move it down. But having those conversations with those around you, setting the boundaries for yourself, I think is huge. And one really profound tool that I have used in order for me to break from where I'm at, if I'm in work mode and I'm leaving work to go home, is creating rituals. I love creating rituals around everything. So when I jump into my car, and I was working at corporate before, jumped in my car, I played a song and just shaking out to get my mind and my body out of work state, shaking it off, singing, and getting ready to go into home life. And even at home, now that you can see behind me, my home office is at home. But I know this space here energetically is for work. As soon as I walk into my kitchen, I'm just shaking it off, and I do a bit of breath work or whatever I need during that day. And I'm like, all right, I'm switched on to mum mode. And, business is left aside. So having a look at putting your boundaries for yourself, and if you're having to need to have conversations with managers or co-workers, and creating a ritual to be able to snap yourself out, your mind and body, energetically from the state you're in. Because we wear so many different hats. We've got a business hat, we've got mum's hat, we've got, social hat. So every time you need to take off the hat and put another hat on, instead of wearing all the hats at the same time, what do you got to do to shake it off, put that hat down and pick up the other hat? So that has been really profound. I do it all the time, like daily. And there's been such a really powerful tool to go from one hat to another hat.
Absolutely. I'm all about, as you know, dinacharya and sacred rituals as well. But this is my workspace, so my office, and I noticed a huge difference when I was living in the little unit while we were building this house. The office was in the lounge room, was in the kitchen, like it was just one little area, and it was so hard to switch off because your computer would be staring at you, your to-do notes, your diary, everything's just staring at you all the time, and you're like, oh, you go over and you say, I'll just quickly get this done. Oh, it's just there. I'll just quickly get it done. And it really made it hard to differentiate work hours, home life. So I think creating those sacred spaces, even those sacred spaces for, say, you have a morning ritual to do some stretches or yoga or really have that me time, your cup of tea, like eating a beautiful lunch, not at the place that your work desk. And that goes for people who are not working from home, but also working elsewhere. Like, have your lunch break. You're entitled to your lunch break. Go and take it outside. Be somewhere that isn't at your desk. And I think that is so important. Before I come into my workspace, my work environment, I always close my eyes, take a deep breath in and notice how I'm feeling and notice what dosha is sort of more dominant in me that day. And I have these essential oils for Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And then I choose the scent, the essential oil that I need to support me through the day, depending on what dosha it is. And then I generally light an incense and sort of wave it around my office, go place it in the incense holder, and then come to work. And that is the little ritual that takes me like 2 minutes, if that, but it's telling my body, my nervous system, okay, we're coming into our work day, we're here, we're ready to go, we're ready to roll. And I love that. Instead of like flying into the office, flying out, I feel like lost now without it. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. So it just really helps me set up for the day. And also before that, like when I'm getting ready for work, so I go and exercise in the morning, I'll have my shower, I've done my breath, and I'll put on some really beautiful like chants and music as I'm getting dressed, getting ready. So I'm getting into that sort of that energy and that vibration, even if, especially if it's like work that I'm not excited about getting done, because you still got to get into that vibration where you can be really present and feel into yourself. So yeah, I feel that sort of wraps up like what we're talking about. Don't always feel that you have to strive for this perfect balance, because the more that you try to strive for the perfect balance, the more out of balance you're going to be, and you're going to feel. It's more about trying to cultivate that great self-awareness, putting boundaries in place for you, and really being aware of your surroundings and being present in everything that you're doing. And gratitude, you said as well. Was there anything else, Mel, that?
No, and I think it's definitely a process. And I think the biggest thing in all that you said there, Harmony, was just shifting your mind and letting go of the belief of that balance of I have to have it all balanced, and redefining what balance is. Balance is present moment. Balance is acceptance and gratitude and boundaries. And when we can redefine these words, it's huge. Like I tell my clients all the time that the dictionary that let's burn that shit, because that keeps us limited, right? We are forever writing our own dictionary. What does balance mean to you? And when we can redefine the words of what it means to us as an individual, there is so much power and freedom in that, because we are not confined in a box by someone else's opinion or definition of what that word means. So just redefining, after you listen to this podcast, wherever you are, just go back and redefine what balance is to you and how you can create balance in your life.
Boom, 100%. Loved that. Redefine what balance means to you. And that's what Ayurveda teaches us. It's about cultivating that self-awareness and redefining the world around us to suit our individual needs.
Yeah.
Aware of that. And talking about balance, if you do feel that you have not given enough to yourself, then we would love to invite you to our 3-night retreat. It starts on the 29th of February 2024 and goes to the 3rd of March. It is called Sacred. the retreat, and it is a journey back to self. We are going to be sharing so many beautiful sacred rituals with you. We are going to help you cultivate that presence, that self-awareness, doing a lot of holistic health workshops. It's in an amazing setting, just a very private setting. We've got beautiful yoga dome. We'll be doing breath work and yoga. And are you going to give us a cacao ceremony, Mel? Are we doing that?
I will be giving you guys a cacao ceremony. We'll be doing some sound healing, some yoga.
Cacao, like it's so amazing.
Because I know sometimes, I've had a few cacaos not tasting nice and watery. So I make mine so delicious and so divine that you don't even want it to end. It is so like,
it is
like
so
a big,
good.
big cloud, fluffy cloud.
Like I drink it and then I'm like the one, is anyone looking, getting my finger and scooping it all out of the cup going, oh my gosh, it's so good. So yeah, it's just going to be a time of bliss, a time to just really come back to self. And you know what, it's a perfect Christmas present for yourself, or hint hint, someone else. And we have very limited spots. And the other exciting thing, if you're listening to this in 2023, then we have early bird tickets still available. So jump in and grab yourself an early bird ticket. Come and join us at Sacred the Retreat.
I can't wait to see all of you at the retreat that are going to be there. It's going to be absolutely divine. We're really going to go deep. It's not light and fluffy. We're going to go deep and really hold you to connect back into that sacredness. And it's going to be so uniquely special. And I really can't wait. But yeah, we'll see you all next year.
Yeah. Namaste, beautiful.